Hello, I'm Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling and welcome to all the AEW WTF moments from this week's AEW Dynamite. And as I put my serious wrestling journalist hat on, here is some analysis that fully justifies my wage here at Cultaholic Wrestling. This week's AEW Dynamite, right, it was a professional wrestling show filled with lots of good wrestling, and lots of good wrestling made that show a good wrestling show. That's all I have to say about last night's Dynamite. But it is Thursday here on the Cultaholic Wrestling YouTube channel, therefore you know what that means. It's time to pull apart that very good wrestling show filled with good professional wrestling action as we take a look at all of the AEW WTF moments from that good wrestling show. I'm rambling already. Hit the intro man.
It's Jim Ross, bitch. Bah, Gouda, did it again.
And it would appear that Jim Ross let the proverbial cat out of the proverbial bag. Or did he? He was in the midst of having a big go at one Don Callis when he shouted. I don't know if he was thinking when he said this, but Jim Ross definitely said to Don Callis, "Hey man, Don Callis, what you talking about, idiot? You work for Tony Khan." And as we all know, Don Callis is an executive at Impact Wrestling and therefore doesn't quite work for AEW, even though he appears for AEW each and every week it seems these days. So simply going off what Jim Ross said there, has TK himself, has Tony Khan, in fact purchased Impact Wrestling? Who knows? Wait, if you know, let me know, because I don't know. And then we have Excalibur saying that Matt Sydal is literally the same age as one Kenneth Omega. And then of course a quick trip over to Wikipedia, which is of course the best source of information on the internet today, because get this right, anybody, and I mean anybody, can edit those Wikipedia pages, which means you're always getting the best source of information possible. That trip told me that Kenneth Omega is 37 and Matt Sydal is 38, and last time I checked those ages are not literally the same age. Although I do like to take literally with its OG meaning and not with its modern day meaning, which in turn means not actually literally. You know what I'm saying here, if you've read the dictionary before. And then the single biggest WTF moment in the history of AEW WTF moments happened. And that's because Excalibur, he took to his commentary headset behind the commentary table while doing the commentary on AEW, and he said only one man has kicked out of the one-winged angel in history. And that initially got me to thinking, bloody hell, Kenny Omega's doing some wrestling on the sly these days, and somebody's kicked out of the one-winged angel over the past couple of weeks, not in an AEW ring. But then I remembered I've been standing here on WTF moments for a long time having a go at AEW and the commentator specifically for peddling some bollocks and disregarding the good name of one Kota Ibushi. I never thought I'd live to see this day. The end is nigh, the end is nigh, time to run away, the end is nigh. And then we heard Big Dick Tony Schiavone calling 37-year-old JD Drake, 35-year-old Ryan Nemeth, and 34-year-old Cezar Bononi young and upcoming talents in the world of professional wrestling that you can only see on AEW Dark Elevation. Tell me what's the point in AEW Dark Elevation, please? It's just the same as Dark, isn't it? But with some Paul White. And we've got to make it a WTF moment, don't we? Even though I know what Frankie Kazarian is saying to Christian Cage when he said to Christian Cage on this week's Dynamite, "Hey Christian Cage, 7 years is a long time to be out of the professional wrestling ring." And we all know that Christian, not Cage, has had 2 outings in the professional wrestling ring over the past year or so. First of all was that 1-minute barn burner against Randy Orton at the end of a random episode of Raw, and then the second one, of course, was the Royal Rumble match where Christian lasted over 18 minutes. Kazarian doesn't watch WWE, confirmed. I am shook. That was terrible acting. Here we have a direct quote from MJF when he said, "When you are in the Pinnacle, you are always on top." But Alexa Bliss to the Pinnacle is seemingly confirmed then. But I tell you what, to make more of a WTF moment out of that comment there from MJF, I hear that comment, I look at the Pinnacle, I see Shawn Spears and I just can't buy that line. You've got FTR, former tag team champions in AEW. You've got the double act of MJF and Wardlow. They've made their way to the world title scene in that feud with Jon Moxley. They've won 2 Dynamite Diamond rings. Then you've got Shawn Spears. and he's also there. And this has nothing to do with Shawn Spears' in-ring ability. This is just down to the way Shawn Spears has been portrayed as a character so far in AEW. In terms of getting to the pinnacle, the top of the card, he's got nowhere near so far. So what's he in that group for, eh? And then we get to one of the most thrilling professional wrestling promos I have ever seen from QT Marshall. The first WTF moment from that really thrilling promo from QT Marshall is when he said that he's been with his wife since she was 8 years of age. First of all, I was thinking, isn't that nice? Isn't that young love's true dream? But then I was thinking, what about that utter bollocks with the bunny, QT Marshall? You utter dirtbag. AEW, man, do not be like WWE. You've done so well so far. Don't be like WWE, who of course forget about certain things happening on occasion and bank on us fans also forgetting those things have actually happened when we never do, just to fit the narrative of a new story they're trying to tell. And then the second WTF moment from QT Marshall's thrilling promo on AEW Dynamite this week is when QT Marshall said, I've taken bumps in this wrestling ring. I don't want to break my body anymore. And I just think that's a really strange turn of phrase to be using in the midst of a professional wrestling promo on a professional wrestling show. In the midst of storyline and kayfabe, QT Marshall, you're still doing real fighting, aren't you? In that wrestling ring, you're not taking bumps as part of a performance. You're killing your body for the sake of the business and to put food on your family's tables. And I know I'm starting to sound like Jim Cornette, and I do not want to do that, but you know what I'm saying here, don't you? Wrestling still should be real to you, damn it, QT Marshall, when you're cutting a promo in the midst of a storyline on a professional wrestling show. Taking bumps should not exist. The phrasing. But I tell you what, the excitement is quite literally bursting out of me. I can't wait to see that exhibition where QT Marshall will take on Cody Rhodes, where Cody Rhodes has promised not to even do any of his big moves. You'll get QT Marshall in a crossroads, but out of respect for their friendship, Cody Rhodes will not do the big exciting professional wrestling maneuvers. I can't wait to see some tie-ups and a headlock and a jump, a leapfrog and other really boring wrestling things. What the hell is that going to be next week? Now then, this WTF moment happened during one of the commercial breaks on TNT, which isn't an issue for people like us here in Britain who get to watch AEW on Fight. Go on, the Fight! It's so much better than TNT. So while you sorry people in America are watching the adverts, we were watching stuff happening inside the professional wrestling ring. Big Dick Tony Schiavone piped up while of course Jim Ross was sat next to him on the commentary table, and while Brandon Cutler, while he was inside the wrestling ring. And Tony Schiavone said while Jim Ross was sat there and while Brandon Cutler was inside that wrestling ring, that one of the great things about AEW today is how the new wrestlers really respect the old people and what they've done in the business. And just cast your minds back a few short months ago, and Brandon Cutler, in relation to Jim Ross of course, had a really funny way of showing his respect towards Jim Ross. And I hope that somebody tells Kenny Omega that the word abrasive starts with an A, which he should know because he's a Canadian, eh? I'm sorry, Canada. Or did we, in that moment when Kenny Omega called Don Callis abrasive, learn that Don Callis sends horrible Twitter DMs and emails and stuff like that? You decide. And I cannot have been the only person thinking, man alive, TNT have completely missed the boat with the title for that new reality show starring Brandi Rhodes and Cody Rhodes. I cannot wait to not watch it. Surely it's got to be called Total Nightmares. Writes itself, doesn't it, surely? So now we have a WTF moment that builds on another WTF moment I made quite some time ago. Way back when I made a WTF moment out of a call that Jim Ross made on commentary. This call came during a Rey Fénix singles match where Pac, War Geordie Pac, I hope you get well soon, Bonnie lad, he was stood on the outside of the ring supporting Rey Fénix in the midst of that singles match. So Rey Fénix goes to the outside, and Jim Ross claimed that if Pac touched Rey Fénix in the midst of a Rey Fénix singles match, that Rey Fénix would have been disqualified. So we fast things forward through to last night's main event where Darby Allin was defending the TNT title against Johnny Hungy. Hungy goes to the outside of the ring, and Alex Reynolds, right in full sight of the referee, he puts his hands on John Silver. Devastating stuff. So with the knowledge of that Jim Ross call about Pac and Rey Fénix in mind, surely Johnny Hungy should have been DQ'd last night. But instead, of course, we had confirmation that Jim Ross was actually just chatting bollocks. And then when that moment happened there during last night's Dynamite, I cannot have been the only person shouting at me television screen, "Hey Stinger, Piss off, will you, man? The Dark Order, they're being good boys and they are abiding by all of the rules. But then I was thinking, is Sting's baseball bat laced with COVID or something? And that's because he appeared on the stage, he walked down to the ringside area, he did that with his bat and a second faction consisting of many, many big sweaty men. They ran away in fear. Why does the numbers game mean nothing in AEW? I guess we could say that with the Dark Order, they are good, wholesome boys, and with Sting also being dark, in a way, why would they attack Sting? I just find it weird though, after everything we went through with Team Taz and how they would stand there and go, why, we'll get you soon, Sting, while we stand here and look menacing, pointing our fingers on the stage instead of just kicking your ass. It would happen again with the Dark Order. Sting's baseball bat must be laced in the COVID. Take that. So that's it, I think, for your AEW TF moments from this week's Dynamite. I've been Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic Wrestling. Thank you for watching this bollocks once again. I'll see you on Saturday for some SmackDown WTF moments. It never stops.